Welcome to the Mental Fitness Podcast in partnership with Eliza Chat, where we explore real tools and stories for building mental strength in the modern world.
All right, Sae, how old were you when you first started playing football?
I played like flag football and stuff as early as I can remember. But I was a fifth grader. Fifth grader, it was my first year of tackle football. And we played here at American Fork for the Colts. Nice. And we actually had a stacked team back then. Our running back was Xavier Suafilo. If you know him, he played several years in the NFL as an offensive lineman. But that was before the X-Men rules, so we obviously did very well.
Those other fifth graders couldn't tackle him.
Oh, no way. No way. That's how old I was when I started tackle football. What, fifth grade? Fifth grade?
Really? I thought I started late because there were some kids that started the year before and I was clueless, but...
You should have tried out. I should have tried.
So you started in fifth grade, but when did you realize you were really good and you had potential to play in college and pro level?
Yeah, so I don't know when I realized that per se, but when I was born, my dad was playing football at the University of Utah. And so I just grew up loving the game. Like it was all I knew. And I had a dream to play college football and to go play professional football. And I kind of tell my parents this. I'm really grateful that they just told me anything's possible and I could. Like as a kid, if somebody told me, hey, only 0.001% or whatever it is, make it to that level, I might have crushed my dreams. But I always had parents that were like, yeah, if you want to do it, do it. So, it was always something I wanted to do.
Was that like always your laser focus, like football's my thing, or did you ever explore other careers or schooling for you? Like what was that?
No, man, football was my thing. Like I played rugby. I really liked rugby. I played basketball as a kid. Tried baseball. It was a little too slow for me, but I enjoy watching it now. But yeah, football was always it. I was locked in on that. And, my high school career, there was a lot of ups and downs and it was weird. I went to 3 different high schools. So I went to high school in Hawaii at Kahuku High School my sophomore year. And then my junior year I was at American Fork. So I came back to Utah and then I graduated from Lone Peak.
Yeah, Lone Peak, you had crazy stats your senior year.
Yeah. So the funny thing was I was a quarterback like my whole life. And then when I went to Lone Peak, they had a quarterback already that was pretty good. And Bronco had then recruited me by that point, and he's like, yeah, you're not a quarterback. And so I was like, oh, play something else. But I played linebacker at Lone Peak for the very first time, and it kind of just fit. It came really natural, and that's where I ended up playing for the rest of my career.
Wow. So end of your junior year or Bronco or end of your sophomore year, when did you start having talks with BYU?
Yeah, so I didn't play at all my junior year. I think I played 1 snap. I took a knee in a game. So I was a backup quarterback. And my dreams were fading. But I don't know, man, I really believe if you have a vision to something and you think it's going to happen and you really focus on that goal, things just start to fall into place and you're able to see the things you need to do and the connections you need to make for things to work. And so coming out of my junior year, I had no offers. Nobody knew who I was. I had a highlight tape, but it was JV film. Nobody's going to offer you on JV film. You can tell we're just during the day. And this summer before my senior year, I went to all the padded football camps. That used to be the thing. Like today, they go to day camps or 7-on-7 camps. But back when I was playing, we'd go to a week-long padded camp, and it was like 2 to 3 practices a day. And we'd just go week after week after week and kind of hit all the schools in the area. And man, that was taxing on your body. But I went to the BYU camp and I think the coaches intentionally did this. I don't know, it only makes sense, but they would stack all the best players on one team and then they'd have everybody scrimmage. And I think it was so the coaches could just be at one spot and watch that team. And so at the BYU camp that year, I knew it was kind of all or nothing. And I was like, I'm going to go on whatever team I want, and I'm going to make sure it's against that team every single time. And so I ended up playing well. It was my first time playing linebacker, but I guess I was bigger than average and faster than average. And I was just flying around making plays. And by the end of the camp, I got the MVP of that camp. And I was the guy with no offers and no name and the one that got the MVP.
That's incredible.
But I left that camp without an offer, but they knew who I was. And the next week was the Poly camp. And I don't know if you remember that camp, but it was a big deal. I think they still do it. But people from all over the country come out to that, especially your top Polynesian players. And so I went to that camp the next week and I did the same strategy there. And it was actually, I forget his name. I got to look up his name because he really helped my career. But he was the linebackers coach at Wyoming at the time. And he spotted me and took me under his wing and coached me up really well. And then he introduced me to everybody there. And once my name kind of got out there, the next thing I knew, Bronco was having me come into his office, and the rest is history.
But you had offers from Wyoming, Stanford, a couple other schools.
Yeah. So that all happened off that all Poly camp. I had nothing. And then the next day I had a bunch of letters in my mailbox. There's
And offers.
It was cool, man. It was one of those few experiences as an athlete where kind of hit a milestone and you're like, we did it.
Yeah, it's rewarding for sure. What made you choose BYU after seeing all those offers?
You know, BYU was the first one to give me an offer. Bronco's he beat everybody. He brought me into his office very first. And the goal was to play college football. And to be honest, I wanted to go to the U. That's where we grew up U fans. And the clock had been ticking and I hadn't gotten anything. So when Bronco offered, I actually called my dad and I was like, Dad, what am I going to do if Bronco offers me? He's like, you're going to take the offers. I was like, yeah, that sounds good. But yeah, it just felt right. And then that year we had a really good recruiting class at BYU. There was, Jake Heaps was part of that class. It was Ross Oppo, Alani Fua, Zach Stout, Josh Quezada. We had a bunch of beasts in that class. And so I went on the recruiting trip and we all hit it off. Like,
You overlapped with Fred Warner, but different class.
yeah. So I went on my mission, and when I came back, Fred was out, coming in. Also a beast. Yes.
So tell us then, so you're BYU, you have a great career there. You medical redshirt freshman year.
No, I planned on going on a mission, so I redshirted.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's kind of the thing to do with when you get to college. If you're going to go on a mission, they're like, we're not going to invest all this energy into you for you to leave. So go to scout team.
Yeah. Then you came back, you played 4 years, got a lot of playing time, started your whole senior year. You started junior year some games.
Yeah, I started most my junior year, a little bit my sophomore year, but my senior year was when I really caught my stride.
So then talk about you transition to NFL.
Yeah, so I like you said, I played my senior year. I signed as a free agent with the Saints. The free agent road is not an easy road. I mean, you're basically just a tryout guy, but they, sign you. And I went to New Orleans. I had a really fun time there, man. It was super cool to be in that locker room and to be amongst those people. Drew Brees was still there at the time. Adrian Peterson was there at the time. And I'm not gonna lie, man, some of these guys get into the NFL and they're like locked in and they're looking around like, I'm better than all these guys. No, dude, I was starstruck. I saw Drew Brees walk by and we were like, oh my gosh, I couldn't imagine. But it was super cool to be around those guys. And there's not very many rooms that you'll ever walk into with that many very successful alpha males, right? And I got to learn a lot from just watching how these guys work and watching how they function and how they address practice and how they attack the game. It was really cool to see. But my time there was really short. I hurt my knee and they put me on a features contract. I stuck it out as long as I could. And then I ended up getting cut that time and then coming back the next year and same thing, tweaked my knee a little bit. And that was history.
What were some of those like learnings from that crew, right? Like those other alphas in the locker room.
Yeah, it's cool, man. They're professionals. I know like people view the NFL or professional sports and they think these guys are out partying and they see the Instagram videos and people blowing money and stuff. But like when you're in season and prepping for season, these guys are locked in. They're going to bed early. They're feeding their bodies right. they're in the training room doing rehab every single day. Like, one thing I thought was really cool is when I got hurt, this is a side of the NFL they don't really tell you about. Like, you have a contract, you're signed for X amount of dollars. The contract has splits. So if you're on injured reserves, you now get paid this. If you're on practice squad, you get paid this. And when you're on IR, they can't cut you unless you violate a part of your contract. Well, showing up for like rehab and all that stuff, that's all part of the contract. So rehab's super early in the morning, like as inconvenient as they can make it, they make it. But I'd show up, before the sun rise, and I'd park the car and go to walk in, and Drew Brees' car is already there. And he's already in the training room, cold tub, hot tub, watching film. After practice, he's out there doing his own workout. Like, they just don't stop. And the guy had been in the NFL for like 18 years or something at that point. Like, yeah, that is discipline and consistency forever. But a lot of the guys are like that. It was really cool to see. A lot of guys, like, they don't drink alcohol during the season or when camp's going on or anything like that because they're so focused on how their body's going to perform. They want every single edge. I mean, in the NFL, dude, everybody's big, fast, and strong.
Yeah.
Like, every step matters. So it's cool to see how those guys take it that seriously, but not even seriously, just that they just do things that will make you successful in anything. They're consistent. They work really hard. They're disciplined. And then they know where they want to be, what they want to do, and they make it happen.
Yeah.
Up until the injury, you're living your dream.
Yeah.
You've had a great college career. I mean, even if it wasn't the school you grew up wanting to go to, you're in the community you grew up in, you're a local star. You have 66,000 people watching you every week in a home game. Where was the peak emotionally of a football career? Was it the senior year of BYU? Was it signing that contract with the Saints? Was it being in the locker room with the Drew Brees and Adrian Peterson? Where would you say, if you look back, was the moment where you're like in living the dream and that this is the best? What kind of part of that journey?
Yeah, that's a good question. And if you asked me this, back then when I was playing, I would have said like, that Hail Mary at Nebraska that we were just joking around about, or, playing in the big house against Michigan or playing in the Rose Bowl, or like there's all these cool things that we were able to do. But like in retrospect, it's really the pursuit of all, like that whole journey was so much fun. And my favorite part is really the relationships I made along the way. So like my best friends today are guys that I played football with at BYU. I hang out with these guys every weekend. My workout buddy is one of my teammates from BYU. Like, that's really, I think, the part I miss. Running out of the tunnel, like, that's an amazing feeling. Playing and hitting people, like, there's nothing that's really ever gonna fill that void. Nothing legal that can fill that void. But just being on a team with guys that you're doing like really hard things with, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's practices are grueling. The off-season workouts they're not easy. Winning these games when it's a close game and you have to rally together and everybody's got to do their job and you have to trust all the guys on the field to do their responsibility. You go out and complete something hard. Like, those moments are the ones I miss. It's not so much like, I don't know, the shiny part of the end, but it's just the brotherhood.
It's interesting you say in the moment you may have picked some of those at the time, but later as you reflect back that it was more the journey.
Yeah.
That's in relationships, yeah.
It's like the quote from The Office. Let's see, Andy says it, and he's like, I wish there was a way of knowing the good old days when you're in them.
Yeah. That is a great quote.
It's true.
So you're laser focused on this, right? Like, football is your life, and then you have this injury. Like, walk us through what happened emotionally at that time, and then like retirement and stuff.
Yeah. So the hard part is I got injured, and I still felt like I could play. When I got better, I mean, I tore my MCL. Like, I didn't have some crazy life-altering injury. It was like something that gets better, right? And so the hard part for me is I was in the best shape of my life. I was the biggest, fastest, and strongest I'd ever been. I was playing the best football I'd ever played in my life. And like I said, as a free agent, you don't have many shots, man. You got one or two maybe. And when I got home, I wanted to keep trying to play, but I had a wife and 2 kids, and we were expecting our third at the time. And we were running out of money. So I was like, man, I gotta go figure out how to take care of my family. And so walking away from the game wasn't something that like, it didn't come on my terms.
Yeah.
And I've realized since then, like most players, it doesn't come on their terms. You have your Hall of Famer guys that get to retire and, sell off into the sunset. But for the rest of us, it's not expected. And you don't realize how much of your identity is football until you can't do it anymore. It's not like golf where you can just go down the street and play. Like, I'll never put pads on again. And that was a hard pill to swallow, man. And it really, I spun out for a couple years on that, just trying to find myself again, trying to find what I was passionate about. That was hard. Yeah, really hard.
Did you know what you said you spun out for a few years, right? Like, did you know what was going on internally? Like, were you trying to figure that out or?
Yeah, I definitely had to figure it out. I mean, I think it reinforced this story that I kept telling in my mind that things just aren't meant to work out for me. I think that's common amongst athletes that get done playing is like, you have this big dream and you fall short of it and you still completed more than most people will ever complete in that sport, but you didn't get to where you wanted to be. And yeah, that story just repeated in my mind for years. Like, you got robbed. Things don't work out for you. It's just a victim mentality. But yeah, pulling myself out of that took a while. But eventually I realized like football served its purpose for me. And it was my purpose for a long time. It was everything I focused on. It determined how I took care of my body, how I lived in every way. When I went to bed, it gave me my whole schedule. Like, we're at BYU, we had practice at 6 a.m. I would go to the training room, do all that, go eat, go to class, film. Like, your whole day was just mapped out. Similar to as like a missionary. Like, yeah, the missionary planner has it broken down from 6:30 a.m. till 10 p.m. You have every minute of the day mapped out. And then that goes away. And so I was missing structure. I was missing purpose. I was missing passion. And those are all things that, like, the beauty of this life is we get to choose those. And it wasn't until I like realized that I was like, you know what? Like, there's a lot of other things that are great about life. I also didn't realize this was kind of like a dumb light bulb moment for me, but I'll say it in reverse. Like, a lot of people that aren't big football fans and don't know a ton about it, like, they think we're about to meatheads just hitting each other. But if you really dive into the sport, there's so much schematics that go into it. There's so much technique
I think it's the most complex sport.
Oh, it's
22 players at one time. The complexity of any given play, it surpasses basketball, any other team sport, the complexity.
And that's my exact point is there is so much to the game. And then I started realizing like, whoa, there's so much to everything. Like, if you want to get into finance, she can dive miles deep into finance. If you want to get into healthcare, like, we can talk about healthcare forever. Like, like everything has that type of depth if you choose to look at it. And so it really it sparked something into me that made me really curious and have a passion for learning. And yeah, I just started finding things that I liked and resonated with and wanted to learn more about, and I replaced that passion with other things.
So I've seen a number of interviews with Michael Phelps, who had post-Olympic depression, first in 2004, 2008. And one thing that he said was he didn't realize it was depression at first. He knew something was off, but he didn't want to talk about it because he viewed it as a weakness, and he didn't want his competitors to know. He didn't want anyone to know he was struggling. And he needed to learn to be vulnerable. In your own experience, how much of that was at play where you're a big guy, you're an NFL football player, and now you're struggling.
Yeah.
How much of that willingness to open up and be honest and authentic about how you're feeling, how much of that played in?
Yeah, that took me years to figure out. And I think that's something we're just taught as men, and then being an athlete, it becomes a way bigger like mentality that we just suppress. We stay calm and cool and collected. We don't show emotion. We just suppress. We suppress. And to be honest, that served me for a while. I could suppress all those emotions, and I could channel that into. I got into medical sales, so I channeled that into being competitive and selling, and it provided a really good life for us. But it didn't do me well. I mean, dude, I'm all the way bald. my hair is gone, and that's from this. I got alopecia because of the suppression and this stress and this just resistance within myself, and my beard started falling out. I started waking up with hair on my bed. Like you can do it. I mean, you can suppress stuff and make it. It's fine.
Right.
But there's a level of, I like to call it inner harmony, that you can gain by being vulnerable, by, I wouldn't even say asking for help. Like ask for help if you want to ask for help, but just by acknowledging that you don't have all the answers, that you don't feel good the way you are, and that there are answers out there for you to get. And, I don't want to get into this too much, but during that whole time, like I went through an entire faith crisis while all this was happening. My wife's brother passed away. We were on a vacation, and he was on a side-by-side and rolled it and passed away. A couple of weeks later, my cousin passed away. He was doing summer sales, and something happened with his heart. He had a heart attack. He was only like 26. So like we were so poor, like everything was just falling apart. My dreams were falling apart. And that's when my hair was falling out, dude. I didn't cry once through that whole thing, maybe one time at a funeral, but like I just shut down feeling. I did. Wow. My emotional, I think of it like a pendulum. Like my emotions would swing like this.
Yeah.
Like I'm either good or I'm not good. I'm good or I'm not good. And it wasn't until I really started diving into working through some of that stuff. And, have you guys ever tried breath work?
Yeah.
Yeah, some have talked about that in other episodes a lot.
Okay. I'm a big advocate of breath work. I went to my buddy Jimmy Rex. He runs a men's group that I'm part of, and he had a breathwork facilitator come in. And she came in, and I started giving her spiel about breathing, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the most healthy thing I ever seen in life. What we're doing. Then I realized I was paying a lot of money to be in that room, and I was like, all right, let's just lean into this breathwork exercise. And let me tell you what, dude, like it cracked me wide open. Just from oxygen, just breathing, and like it put me in a vulnerable state where I started feeling emotions, where I started remembering things that I just suppressed. And I gotta like, in that breathwork session, I gotta mourn my brother-in-law. I gotta mourn the death of my dreams. And that's something I never did. I just like was mad about it. But really, it was a death of, what could have been. I gotta mourn my cousin dying. Like I gotta feel all those emotions. And what I realized in doing that was I deserve to grieve for that. They deserve to be grieved. And I came out of that breathwork session, and my wife was with me. I sat up, and she's like, how was that? And I was like, I need to go to a therapist or something. I don't know, dude. I don't even know what to tell you right now.
I uncovered a lot.
Right. But it started this like domino effect of me just being obsessed with like, why am I reacting to this the way I react to it? Why does this affect me the way it affects me? And is there a better way to transmute this energy that I'm feeling into something that's more positive, that's more productive, that serves me? And yeah, man, it was a long time of suppressing stuff that I was able to get that out. And now like I remember I would do everything I could not to think about my brother-in-law or my cousin. I didn't watch football for years. Like I didn't even want to see it. And what healing from all that and like processing those emotions has done is like, dude, I got my passion back. I love watching football. I get to coach my son now. I love being a part of that. Like I get to pass my knowledge on to him now. I get to have the memories I had with my cousin and my brother-in-law. I get to share those with my kids. Like it's how it's supposed to feel, So sorry, long answer to your question, but that's what the importance of expressing and being vulnerable and letting that stuff out.
I love that. I mean, this is the mental fitness podcast, right? And one of the big pillars of mental fitness is self-awareness. Like feeling, right? And like understanding those emotions in you. So it's simple to think someone hears breath work, that's not knowing where it is. It's like, what's going on? But that just understanding what's going on inside yourself and like letting yourself feel again. Yeah. Right. That sounds like it was a big moment for you.
Yeah, we even had a guest on who's a therapist who's one of their expertise is in breath work or in those types of exercises. And he was saying that sometimes that just unlocks things in people. So I've heard this. So theoretically, hearing your experience is just like, wow, just being there just opened up all this stuff.
Yep. It's cool because there's when you do these breathing exercises, and there's a bunch of science that goes into what's happening, within your body. But, your eyes are closed, it's dark, you're breathing, and there's music or sounds going, but it forces you to sit alone with yourself for, say, an hour. And it forces you to think about things you don't want to think about and process things you've been not wanting to process. And once if you suppress things as long as I did, the second you pull the tape off that box, it busts so
Why, and not to go backwards, but why do you think people in these high performance environments struggle so much with emotional expression?
I think it's just a macho man type of thing to do. Like, we think that emotions make us weak. We think that, especially in sports, like with football, you got to come across strong all the time.
Yeah.
Mean all the time. You're literally physically manhandling people as your day job. And so to tap into that more emotional side, I don't think people realize that you can do both. And I don't know, for me, what I realized through that was everything comes down to emotional intelligence. Like through that breathwork experience, I learned how to feel again. And I wouldn't even say how to feel. I learned to feel again.
Yeah.
And then the next step for me was to learn okay, how do I feel now? How do I channel things correctly? How do I if my wife says something that makes me so mad, how do I not just stew on all day, And the Egyptians used to do a practice called transmutation where they would sit and they'd feel emotions as intensely as they could. And then they'd do it for a minute and then they would switch and they'd say, go from happy to anger. And then they'd switch to another emotion and they'd feel it as hard as they could. And they'd go to another emotion. And the goal was to be able to control what you're feeling and to be familiar with it. And then the transmutation part became, if you're feeling angry, that emotion needs to be metabolized. You have to work through that anger. And what I've been working on, what I've learned that's really helped me as a man, as a father, as a husband, as a boss, whatever I do, is being able to take those raw emotions and use them for something productive. So I work out every morning at 7:00 in the morning, and it's hard to stay consistent. But I have a good workout partner, and I have fuel that needed to be burned off from the day prior that I got to go burn off at the gym. That's the easiest example, right? Yeah. And so it's being able to take, because that's the scary thing. Once you open yourself up to feeling, now you're as happy as you can get. You can also get that set back to the pendulum thing. Those emotions can swing. It becomes learning how to feel them, how to channel them correctly. And I think if you can do that, man, you become a lot better leader, somebody that can hold conversation, that can hold empathy. So you got
It's all skill. That's awesome. And so you talked about going into medical cells right after. What have you been doing since, and what are you up to now?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I got into medical cells. I started, it's funny, I went from football to being injured to selling the implants that help people that are injured in sports. And so it was really a nice natural transition for me because I was already pretty well educated on anatomy. I went to school and exercise and wellness. I can't remember. That was a long time ago. So exercise something. So I knew anatomy and all that stuff. So it's kind of a natural segue to that world. And man, I loved it. I loved learning about the human body. I loved being able to talk to physicians and And like I said, football is in miles deep of complexity. The sports medicine is arguably more. So it was a cool thing to become passionate about. But I did that for years, and then for about 7 years. And now I work for a company called Ortho Athlete. So I took the knowledge there and my sports background, and we started a company where we have a network of surgeons and physical therapists where athletes, if they get hurt at the high school level, they have a concierge service that can guide them through their injury process. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, we realized like when I got hurt at BYU, I needed shoulder surgery. There was a trainer on me right away. And I was getting imaging right after practice. I was in with an orthopedic surgeon the next day. Like everything was just so clean and it worked so well. And then they can do the best surgery in the world, but if you don't go to physical therapy, it doesn't matter, dude. Like you have to rehab that correctly. And at BYU, you're in the training room every single day till you're back. And so we realized like that's not available to the general public. You have that in high level sports and that's it.
I'm glad you talked about that surgery and physical therapy recovery, because we use that analogy a lot in terms of mental health. You may have had something you go through and you need to see a therapist, but the rehab is what we call mental fitness. It's the things outside of the therapy session or even after the therapy is over, the things that you do on a regular basis to maintain that resilience. And it may be a new term to you, but when you hear mental fitness, what does that mean to you, or what does that seem to be?
Yeah, I think it comes down to routines. And I'm not going to give you the Instagram spiel like you see guys on there. It's like I have my coffee, then I get my Coke Park, and I go run 5 miles, and I listen to my podcast. And it doesn't need to be a chore. It just needs to be something you can do. And so one of my mental fitness routines is I call it my morning warrior routine. But I just take like 10 deep breaths, calm my nervous system. I come up with 3 things I'm grateful for. And dude, they can be so simple. When I first started doing the gratitude thing, like there's always like my car, my house, my family, like just general stuff, but you do it consistent enough and then you stop being grateful for like these vague things and it becomes more of things that are happening now. Like today, I'm grateful I get to be in this podcast. I'm grateful we have this conversation, so it becomes more of a embodied principle than just a list you make. So yeah, I like my deep breaths. I do my gratitude list and then I just spend 10 minutes with my eyes closed and I like to visualize. And that was something I learned as an athlete. Dr. Craig Manning was a sports psychologist at BYU. And he was incredible. And I met with him all the time when I was there. And that was one of the things he had me do was visualize in my mind, like the best plays that I'd made. And I would build a lot of confidence. So I'd visualize sacks and good tackles and those high moments. And that would get me in the right mindset to go play a game. What I do now is I do that to kind of gain confidence. And then I transition. And I think in a year or 6 months, I just kind of choose if everything went right for me, if the heavens opened up and nothing could go wrong, what does my life look like? And I just visualize it for 5-10 minutes. Sometimes it goes longer. But what it does for me is it just trains my mind to see opportunity. I mean, we're sitting here today in this podcast because I got invited to a charity event at Topgolf that I couldn't make it to because I was going to play real golf. And then we got done playing real golf early, so I ran over and caught the last little bit of it, and I met a guy that introduced me to Johnny, that introduced me to you guys. Like it's just, things just work out the way they're supposed to if you just, allow yourself to see the opportunities.
I love that. It sounds simple. I mean, earlier you talked about that victim mindset, right? In your life, like, oh man, I got jaded with this injury and stuff. And now what you're explaining is this growth mindset, right? Like no matter what life deals me, like I'm going to make something out of it. Right?
Yeah.
And also just like presence, like your warrior routine's awesome. But like what I see in that is just like being present in the here and now and like taking it day by day, right? Which is huge. And that's a those seem like small things, but I think a lot of people are stuck in that victim mindset inside, right?
No, absolutely. It's a hard one to break, man. It really is. Like, it's kind of like explaining to somebody what salt tastes like. Like, when people are stuck in a victim mindset, a lot of times they don't even realize they're there. And one of my goals, and I hope I do a good job of it, but we'll see, is to just embody, like what you said, presence, to embody a growth mindset. Just because I think if people can feel what it feels like to be around somebody that's thinking that way, they can see that within themselves. And so, I don't think we can like change other people, but I think by changing ourselves and how we take care of our mental fitness, it's contagious. People are attracted to that.
I love it. I love what you said there about routine. Just a one-word answer at first, and then you elaborated on a little bit of your routine, which includes so many big elements. The gratitude practice, the breath work, the visualization. Those are all. You're giving me ideas. I mean, I have my routine, if you will, but I think I'm adding to it now.
Yeah, you got to start the warrior routine.
I like that name too. I gotta call it that. Yeah, the warrior, the Barney warrior routine or something.
That's a big thing we're trying to push. I mean, it's almost like hygiene for your mental fitness, right? It's like, like a dental analogy, you brush your teeth every day, right? But like those are your brushing your teeth for mental fitness every day, right?
Yeah.
For your hygiene.
Well, it's like that quote, like there's two wolves that live within everybody, and one's anger, one's hope, or whatever kind of titles you want to put. The one that you feed grows, right? And so, like what I was talking about with the Saints and Drew Brees and those guys, like they're just consistent. They're consistent and disciplined. And for me, the reason my routine's structured the way it is it's too easy not to do. It's 15 minutes. Like, everybody can wake up 15 minutes earlier and do something simple. If it was longer, then I wouldn't stick with it. But if it's that simple, there's no excuses for me. So I love it.
Kind of like an overarching theme I see here that I think a lot of listeners will resonate with is like, actually, one question I want to ask you is about like identity formation. So your whole identity was football, right? And then a trend I see a lot in just talking to people and on this podcast and stuff is when you lose that identity, a lot of times you're just trying to rush to the next thing and be successful in the next thing, whether that was medical cells or whatever it is, right? Staying busy, like continually suppressing those emotions, right? Like, where are you now with your identity? How did you like form that as a father and a parent, right? Like,
yeah, that's a great question. For me, my identity was a football player, and when I got hurt, I was stripped away. It was coming to the realization that everything that made me a really good athlete, that was my identity. It wasn't the athlete.
yeah, wow.
It was all the efforts I put in, the man that I became through going through all the hard things that made you a good athlete. That was my identity. And that identity can be carried into anything.
Yeah. The discipline, right?
Yeah.
Discipline, all those things. That makes sense. I love that. What would you say? What would you summarize?
Well, I had a couple things, but that what was just said, I think, is very deep. The pursuit of being the best athlete possible to be a professional NFL player made Sae into the man that could not be taken away with a knee injury. It took some time to figure that out. And that's tough. But the fact that you figured that out is beautiful. And that those things can't be taken away, and that's why you've been successful in so many other areas of life that are arguably way more important than football. But I just think that's amazing. I was thinking, I love the routine part. That's probably the biggest takeaway, is just those simple routines. And then, I don't know, the journey, like I mentioned Michael Phelps earlier in the thing, because that's when the first time I heard him talk about his post-Olympic depression was the first time I became aware of this trend that's not uncommon in athletes. And then hearing your story, it's just, and like you said, most athletes don't get to pick when it ends. And so for those listening who are athletes or crazy successful in anything else, just realizing one day it will end, and it may not end when you want it. So you should start reflecting or thinking or preparing for what does that mean in your life post whatever it is you're doing now that you love and enjoy.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, or even just, like I said about the identity thing, like separate your identity from what you're doing. Like the reason you're good at it is because you do a lot of other things really good, whether that's for your diet, your fitness, your ability to learn quickly. Like, dude, one of the best blessings I got from football is I had to learn playbooks really fast. So I can jam a bunch of information in my head really fast. But all those little lessons, those are what made me great at football. And I'm glad things ended up the way they did. I'm really happy with where I'm at. I wish back then I would have realized that that's who I was, because that would have given me more confidence in me, that my confidence wouldn't be in football or the image of it being an athlete. My confidence would have been in, no, you know how to work hard. You're very mentally tough. You're disciplined. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so decide your identity and don't tie it to the occupation, if you will.
Yeah. That's huge. That's a great reminder for people to take away. The next section is kind of a fun one. It's a rapid fire segment. So we'll just ask you quick questions and this off the top of your head.
Don't even think, because the first thing comes to mind, oh, these get me in trouble. Let's go.
Hardest workout you've ever done?
Dude, Bronco, he would have us do 300-yard gassers, and you had to get 3 of them. So the first one was 25 yards and back 12 times, then 50 yards and back 6 times, and 60 yards and back 5 times. And you had a minute to complete it, each one. And so you'd go, and then the next, there's 3 groups. And if you didn't complete it, you had to start over. But to do that type of sprint in a minute 3 times is so hard. And yeah, if you didn't get it the first time, like you just knew you were going to run until classes started. But man, people were puking, cramping. That's one that I still remember. That was a hard workout.
A book or mentor that changed your life?
Ooh, there's so many. A book that changed my life. I love The Slight Edge. I think it's by Jeff Olson. That's a good book. It just talks about how, you're either on a J curve up or a J curve down. Like there's no just staying stagnant. And that is the slight edge, is what are you doing in your routines? What are you doing with your mental fitness to make sure that J curve's always moving up?
What's the most important lesson fatherhood has taught you?
Fatherhood. Oh man, there's so many good lessons that fatherhood's taught me. Fatherhood's taught me to be present, because I realized that I had kids young, and I realized that the majority of the time I spend with my kids, they'll be adults. And so it's really helped me to slow down, focus on the present, and just enjoy this time, because everybody says it goes fast, but it goes really fast.
Yes, that's huge.
One thing most people misunderstand about you?
I don't know. I talk a lot these days, so I don't think I'm very misunderstood anymore.
What about one pregame hype song you still play today?
Pre-game hype song. I used to listen to Chance the Rapper a lot, and we used to listen to Juice. Now I listen to that with my son on the way to our games.
Fun. Center team. What's your guilty pleasure, snack or show?
Everybody's going to make fun of me now. I'm an anime nerd.
I love it.
Total guilty pleasure.
Crazy.
So, yeah, I love anime.
Well, that's the rapid fire. Sae, thanks so much, man, for coming on here.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's been cool to hear your story.
I've been looking forward to it because I know the story. I'm looking forward to diving in, but this exceeded expectations. This was awesome.
I am happy you guys had me on, so thank you.
Thank you.